Basically what he said is the engineers seem to think he moved money around that would make this work. He says that he overspent in those areas, and that the reason is he was showing that we had $7,144,517, when in essence we only had $6,969,478. So you can see there's the $200,000 difference almost. And even if we had gotten that, the way I calculated it, we'd still come up short $36,000 even with that. Basically, we would have wanted to finish Yale anyway, but it would have been nice to know up front that we did not have the funds. We could have redone it to shorten the project, but then we would have an old 10-inch line that I know a lot of you heard so much about here over the last 10 days. In order to replace that whole 10-inch line, we would have had to do the whole street. But we could have come back to the council and said, this is the situation, we don't have the money to complete it on the front, whereas here we're doing it on the back. I did talk to the city auditor, and he said that I could do it out of Rescue Act money by moving it over into our escrow account for this project and have enough to complete it. I did put in the budget that we were gonna, and later sewer's coming up, that $375,000 from the sewer. Turns out that we're only gonna need about $44,000. So in essence, even with the 211 added in, it's not gonna change the bottom line, it's just I'm gonna have to move it around where it goes. One's gonna be water, one's gonna be sewer. But, we asked him to be here tonight. He said he had some kind of surgery or something and could not make it tonight to discuss in detail. He did write a letter back, which we wanted him to appear at the next council meeting to explain it to the council. At that time, I was going to present you the letter. I'll give it to you anytime. But basically,
you mean the engineer?
The engineer.
Okay.
But basically, judging by, if you look at the email in here from Michael Brooks of the Water Development Board, there were a couple of errors in there that he didn't contribute to his accounting, and that is why it's off. That we spent more money on engineering than was budgeted, and then we maxed out in environmental and surveying. So when he had to pay some of during the projects that we've done for the last 3 years, he had to do some of the engineering by taking it out of construction. That's the only way it would work. Bottom line, we ended up $211,000 short.
Well, one thing, I don't want to get too distracted, but I think we need to reevaluate our engineering firm and contract. So I'd like that to be something.
And their insurance.
I'd like that to be something the council looks at.
What is our redress to him? Because it seemed like decisions were made. We hired him, and what I just heard, we paid more than what we thought we were going to pay him, and now we're faced with this, and council has made decisions based on professional help that we hired to overlook this thing. He was on it on the front end, as I understand, and all through it, and now it comes back and it's our problem. Why isn't it his problem?
I agree with that.
Three major mistakes, and he's got insurance.
So that may be, maybe that's an executive session for the next one to talk about the specifics of that with our attorney. Because
That's why they have insurance.
I agree.
To cover for their professional services.
I tried to watch the budget as close as I could, but I did use his numbers. Had I gone in there and pulled out the Water Development Board, and I take fault for that. Maybe I would have known that earlier, but it would have been after the bid was already made anyway.
Okay, the damage is done, so what do we do now? We gotta pay up and go on.
I think so, yeah. I mean, we need to.
And that's what we're requesting of the council tonight.
Recouping that money.
I agree.
From another source.
I agree.
We're making decisions. We're hiring help.
Paying a lot of professional.
But I mean, for now, we're gonna have to.
I think so,
Yes.
yeah. I believe so.
And I make a motion to expend funds from the Rescue Act to offset deficit balance in order to complete the water line distribution system improvements priority 3 project under DWSRF-62731 with TWDB.
Second.
Then we had, part of that motion to have our attorney, look into, recouping.
Well, wouldn't that be something separate?
Or what-
I think that's understood. I mean, Betsy's on, and I think,
What do y'all want?
Yeah, she's here.
Yep. So, we have a motion. Who made the second?
Me.
We have a motion and a second to approve to expend the funds from the Rescue Act to offset the deficit balance in order to complete the water distribution system improvements priority 3 project under DWSRF number 62731. Is there any further discussion?
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Move to item number 16, which is a request from Public Works Director to expend funds from the Rescue Act in order to complete CWSRF number 73741 for sanitary sewer collection system improvements phase 3 as bid.
Mayor and council, I stood before you and we were taking the remaining fund balance of the sewer, which we do have the bottom dollar on it because all of it is in our accounting, it's in our banks and everything, so we know what the bottom line is there. We made that presentation to you with the low bid from XL4. That bid was still over the budget that we had projected. And so in that presentation, we requested to reduce the items, get with the contractor, reduce the items, bring it back in the budget. Since that time, the road construction bond has went out with Tarrant County, and Long Street is actually on there for future improvements. So what we're doing is coming back before you to ask to place that back in the contract. It's still in the contract. We haven't awarded the change order, so we can repair that section of sewer while we already have it there bid, plans ready to go in that aspect. The second item in this that we're making presentation and request for is that during the pre-work conference we had with XL4, they brought up that we may run into some construction problems with one particular area with the pipe bursting method due to the fact that it was within 10 feet of the building. Apartment buildings are located over there on Springer, and doing the research, because what we needed to do in that is upsize that line from a 12 to an 18-inch, and you can do that in the pipe bursting method. But when you do, you're shaking the ground and you're enlarging the ground, and to actually get in one area close to the building where a manhole has to be removed. Once we remove that manhole, we're within 2 foot of that building foundation. So with that and with shaking that, so the contractor gave us 2 options, that if we stay with the 12-inch, we could actually do it in that particular area with less damage or less risk of damage, where there's still risk of any kind of damage in there. Or the second option would be just to move another 10 feet out into the parking lot, open cut it, and he provided us a cost with that and replace that. In your package, there is a map showing this particular area, showing the building. With that, also have Trevor Truss here with us. He is the project manager engineer from ESNCM over the sewer. He's been with me over the whole sewer project from start to beginning in that. So if you have any questions of him in that particular area. So the 2 items totaling together, we're asking for, let me get my memo here, due to the fact that a little bit of explaining in the accounting on this, and when we have that presentation in your packet, you'll see that there's a larger number from XL4 than what I'm presenting to request for. So what we have to do is go back into the contract, and the items that they won't do, we deduct, and that brings it down in there. So the phase 3 construction budget, the original contract was $419,406. That will include putting back that section of Long, and then that 18-inch sewer main adjustment, $73,000. bringing for a final contract price of $492,455.